Hi everyone, I'm Lee Arknell. Today we'll be exploring behaviors associated with the GootLoader malware. Now, this piece of malware can be found on compromised legitimate sites, and through the use of search engine optimization or SEO poisoning, the adversary can get their victims to navigate to these compromised sites, where the victim will also click a link, and ultimately they'll get served the GootLoader itself. All right, let's get going. So if we consult one of my favorite technical news sites, we have the DFIR report, or DFIR report, some people pronounce it differently. We'll find an article that was published back in February of 2024 that involves SEO poisoning that leads to the GootLoader. Now, leveraging the technical details in this report, we can absolutely get an idea of how it operates and what evidence we can use to aid in our threat hunting. Now, in this case, I want to call out the scheduled task creation, which is a recurring behavior of the GootLoader itself. So if we scroll down to the persistence section, and we'll just click the link to get there quicker, we get the evidence that was left behind by the scheduled task. Now, looking at all the artifacts that come from this event code or this event log, we can identify a couple things, like who the user was, or what the trigger was that this scheduled task is scheduled to execute on. In this case, if we look under the logon trigger, we can see that it says enabled true. So we can assume that this scheduled task will trigger whenever the user ID that's redacted for privacy purposes logs onto this machine. Now that's great. Now that we know that it's executing on logon, what other information can we find? So if we scroll down, this is where we see the actions or the commands that are being run. I want to focus on scheduled tasks being created in a less than expected location or directory. And you may be wondering why I consider this an unexpected location, which is a great question. Adversaries love to abuse locations that are easy to hide their malware in, or their files or their resources, simply because the users aren't really paying attention to them. Ask yourself, when was the last time you stored an important document in your app data roaming directory? You may also be asking yourself why I keep talking about the use of a strange directory and completely ignore the arguments or the file name that's being used or referenced. Well, while this report is published in 2024, which was about 3 months ago, if the adversary is smart, they will not be using the same file name, which in itself is an indicator of compromise, or an IOC, not a behavior. By focusing on the directory, or the unexpected directories, and the behaviors, which is a scheduled task being created, I'm able to create something that will stand the test of time versus using an atomic or point-in-time artifact, such as a file name, file hash, IP, and so on. So why focus on GootLoader? Let's jump into the Hunter platform and see what we have. So if we focus on the term GootLoader and select the Hunt package collections, we see we have one that is focused on the GootLoader malware. Now, the reason I'm calling this one out specifically is that this is one of the first Hunt packages or Hunt package collections that is also powered by Intel 471 intelligence. So by gaining access to timely intelligence, we're now able to improve our Hunt packages so that we're not having to rely on open source intelligence that may be months, days, weeks old. And now we're getting that timely information to really make these Hunt packages really, really powerful. And since Cyborg loves the threat hunting community, and since you were kind enough to take time out of your day to improve your knowledge, I wanted to share with you the community Hunt package that exists in this Hunt package collection that captures the exact activity that I was discussing. All you have to do is register for a free Hunter Community Edition account, and you will gain access to a select group of Hunt packages, like this one, which is the scheduled task with abnormal location. And you may be wondering, what are we even talking about when we're talking about, or when I keep mentioning abnormal locations? So let's scroll down to the query logic table so that we can identify the field value relationship, or the values that we'll be looking at in certain fields. So first off, we have a scheduled task, which is event ID 4698. So that's the Windows native logging event ID that captures scheduled task being created. Now, if we look at the scheduled task in the message, which is the normal field that captures a bunch of information in the Windows native event log, we're looking for users or public or perf logs, recycle, program data, etc. So we're looking at all these strange locations. Now, looking at the keywords section, we see Windows Defender and Microsoft Windows Application. We're excluding those because those are locations that we've identified that commonly contain, or that scheduled tasks commonly reference. So we don't want to see that because that could be false positives and that could overwhelm you. So we're looking for these locations, right? Users, public, perf logs, etc. But what does that look like in Tool? How can we use that data to search for and then pivot through the investigation? Let's check it out. As usual, we have our Splunk query that we've used. If you haven't watched these videos before, the first thing I like to mention is make sure that the data that you're seeing reflects the logic of the query you're using. So we can take a look at it and see that we have task arguments contain users, which checks off here in this task arguments field that we created by using some regular expression. So we see the users, and then we see that it's event code 4698 specifically. So that's, that's kind of either true or false. But now that we have the data, what can we do? Well, we see that the task arguments contain a bat file that's running in the user's James Murphy app data local temp directory. We see the command contains command.exe and the task name is daily backup. Now, the question here is, what do we do next? Well, there's multiple routes you can take. You can always, if this is completely abnormal in your environment, you could, alert the incident response and digital forensics team, let them know that this is the computer that is compromised. This is the task name we found, the task arguments, the files that we're looking for. But from an event log source or event log investigation, what you can do is you can move from this event ID where it says, hey, a scheduled task was created, and pivot towards a process creation. Because after you know it exists, the next step, in my mind, or the easiest step in my mind, is to figure out, well, has that file ever executed? So you can craft the query and pivot toward that by looking at process creation events to see if this autologoff.bat exists in any command line arguments or parent command line arguments fields. Well, thank you again for taking time out of your day. I hope this short video helped you understand GootLoader a little better and provided you with valuable tools for a proactive defense strategy. Remember to sign up for your free Hunter account to maintain an edge in your threat hunting activities. For further insights and updates, don't miss our next episode. Stay safe, and as always, happy hunting.